From the actual welfare line to the spiritual welfare line, this is Tales from America's Hot Mic Episode 3. Now, there's an issue that's been on my mind and rolling back and forth enough to warrant an episode of Hot Mic, the seldom anticipated series on YouTube. As early as 4 years ago, we had a number of political and religious and spiritual talk shows around the internet, and maybe even on the radio waves, but to be honest, the only people left on that front are old boomers that are politically worthless anyway. Back then, the hosts had to complain about a lack of action from the people on this side of the political spectrum, or even on this side of the religious spectrum. We've evolved into such a point where the political right and religion, in its truest sense, have morphed into one. The old illusion of the right wing being this either pagan or anti-Christian entity, something that could exist without Christianity being something real. That's all come aside after the alt-right and all of their flunkies and stooges fell to the wayside. You still have your grifters like Milo Yiannopoulos, who, which I suppose I'm dating myself by even bringing that faggot's name up, but still people like this pop up from now and then, but this has largely gone away. As early as 4 years ago in 2016, it was these thought leaders speaking about a lack of action, or even a inability to prevent acting in certain ways. Back then it was the encouragement of good moral, upright behavior. A lot of these talk show hosts, such as Common Filth for one, worth mentioning, complained that those of us on the right wing had an inability to act right, and that there was a need to act right. What's been rolling around in my head for the past 48 hours, if not 72 hours, is that we can't even go that far these days. We are 40 years after the resurgence of Christianity on the internet, and perhaps a little bit in the culture, and these 4 years have not been kind to those of us on the right. We are now no more than a group of nomadic people wandering from this way to that, with no real uniting voice, no real uniting corner to call our own. In light of the truth ministry dropping and various sections of social media being turned into legitimate arms of the government and turning themselves into propaganda mills more or less over the past year, you could say that this propaganda ministry is more or less a symptom of what was happening in these social media corners. That of narratives being carefully manicured, right-wing accounts being carefully combed out like lice on a lice comb, and generally the social sphere that the normies were exposed to being perfectly manicured, that they would only see what they wanted you to see. This ministry of truth is sort of the inevitability of this, the name tag to let you know that it's real and official. Regardless, as I said before, the right wing and Christians in large nowadays are sort of nomads on this area that we call the internet. Perhaps you have a little community in your local church or whatever, but for true spiritual nourishment, for maybe even, for lack of a better words, fire and brimstone approach of calling out the culture as it actually is, more so than just saying they don't do this or they don't do that, they promote some sort of agenda that your pastor calls down. There's a lack of a sphere with teeth. And this is a serious problem. Whereas 4 years ago they were saying that there was a lack of action, now there's a lack of voices. A lack of even opinion. And a problem seriously plaguing the right wing that's metastasized from the tumor it was 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago is apathy. Apathy has sunken its teeth into this side of the political sphere, this side of the religious sphere. On the other side of this religious sphere, let's just stick with this, is that of douche church Christianity, which I would say is, if you wanted to use a word, Judeo-Christian, this is, of course, an oxymoron. This does not exist. You could even call it modern-day Judaism. Judaism, atheism, Satanism. These people are less apathetic and more so hateful. They promote the murder of babies, the destruction of humanity, and the embarrassment of God's image in man through sodomy and transsexualism. They seek to destroy children, that which Christ called out mainly and directly to kill people for as punishment by throwing a millstone around their neck and tossing them into the sea. But what do we have on our side of the political spectrum? A group of people who every day in their face, their race is besmirched. Their religion and God is trashed. Literally right now, as they're protesting a draft for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Bear in mind, nothing has actually been done and nothing will be done. A draft was released and they are talking about showing up at churches, interrupting services. I've read that they were firebombing these centers that help take in babies from mothers who can't take care of their children. What does the right wing do? I'm not even hearing voices anymore. It's not enough to even get on the microphone and speak. Now I've realized something. It's a cliche to say that you have to be the change you want to see. Truly, I don't hear any other opposing voices out there. These days, as I sit and I think about what's going on in the culture, without even hearing another fellow voice out there speaking, letting me know that I'm not alone in my beliefs, I am left to think that even if I were to turn on the microphone and speak out there, it's like a lone radio station broadcasting in a sea of static. Now you can turn on any radio station, you could turn on any social media channel, and you most certainly can turn on daytime television and hear the same old bullshit spewed at you. You can hear the opposite of what I tell you, and that's all well and good, and politically correct, and nice. But nice doesn't save the culture. And I'm not even saying that turning on a microphone and talking some bullshit for 30-minute increments on a show that barely even gets episodes is going to do something. I'm simply saying that the apathy I see in the right wing is disgusting. Where 4 years ago we didn't have any of the guts to brighten up our acts, to act moral, to be upright men, today we lack even the courage or the faith or the strength to speak, to put our words out there, to call it what it is in the culture, to put things into context. In the light of the world, it's truly mind-boggling that people who are supposed to have such strength and such conviction, as Christ tells us we have to be a shining light on a hill. If we put our light under a bushel, the light does us no good. We are supposed to be and called to be the strongest, and we can't even speak. We are living in a world right now much worse than it was 4 years ago when we had someone like Common Filth, when we had other speakers even putting things into context, letting us know we weren't alone in this abyssal culture. In our culture, when there's a bill in Florida as toothless as saying, well, you can't really talk to kids about sex up until grade 3. In grade 4, it's fine. At 10 years old, you can tell them whatever you want. But, and this bill is in the process of being passed, and you have throngs and throngs of high school students walking out of school. You have people showing up outside these buildings protesting it. The culture is worse than it ever has been. You have countless TV shows saying, "Dear white people, you're pieces of shit." You have all of these TV show hosts, and I know time and time again I've brought this up, but it's a serious issue. You have politicians and late-night TV shows celebrating the extinction of a race of people, the same race of people that built the country we're living in, the same race of people that made it possible for you to even listen to my voice on the computer, and they are celebrating the extinction of this people. That covers the sexual dysfunction and pedophilia openly in society, and it covers the racial celebration of our extinction in society. So what's next? You've got organizations like the ACLU openly saying that abortion is a right, enjoyed, the word enjoyed by millions. You have people speaking about abortions no longer in euphemisms, like the president saying that you should have the right to kill a child. The culture is falling off of a cliff worse than it ever has been at any time, reported by people like Common Filth back in the day. And we have such apathy, infected with such apathy, that no one is out there providing any political commentary worth listening to. There is no movement, there is no voice, and there is no compilation, and it is sickening. Listen, I get it. I saw what happened to the Canadian truckers over there. I see what they did to the people at the January 6th protest. I understand. There's nothing you can do in, if we want to say meat space, that wouldn't involve you getting thrown in a cold jail cell. But you are seriously so defeated that after you see continually the culture getting worse, people spitting in your eye over your race and your skin color, who are the responsibility for everything we have, the race which brought Christianity to the four corners of the globe, and you sit there and say, well, what's the difference? What's the point? This decentralization, this creation of a nomadic style of existence for right-wingers on the internet where we drift here and drift there, get kicked off of Twitter, and we don't even have what it takes to create a voice, a central figure, some sort of leader, has led us into a situation where anywhere you go, trying to find a right-wing opinion, some sort of talking point, some person to put things together, you will only find a group of shills who are going in and infiltrating any thought, any semblance of community, any gathering, because no one gives a shit enough to create a sense of community anymore. The right wing is fragmented. Christianity on the internet, religion's resurgence in 2016, 17, and 18 has been completely killed because of our apathy. You say, what can I do? Obviously, we can't change things from within the system. That much is a given. I don't believe in the clean your room philosophy where if you just live your life right, eventually somehow that's going to involve or create a situation outside where it's not so hellish. But I'll tell you what won't change things. Not even doing anything. Nothing. We have the next generation coming up. Probably the one I feel the worst for. Millennials didn't have it nearly as bad as what Gen Z is running into, and after Gen Z is Generation Alpha. Who are they? Those are the kids, the young kids you see when you go out to the restaurant, and their clueless single mother and her fifth boyfriend for this month plop down an iPad in front of the little kid's face, and he's watching some gay bullshit on YouTube Kids. What is he going to look forward to? Who's going to teach him? We can't even get ourselves together to make animations, videos, commentary. When these kids hit middle school and when they hit high school, they don't have any opposing voice to listen to. It is the total state. It is total control. It's going to be in all directions from them. Hitting them in the eyes and the ears will only be satanic leftism, Marxist Bolshevism, because none of us can even get together and provide political commentary, animations, any kind of work at all. You hear the dog? Yeah, there he is. Your ancestors who built the West, who created some of the most Christian societies that there ever were, who created the most functional societies that there ever were. Do you not care about them enough that they gave you the opportunity to be Christian? Do you not care about them so much, and you are racked with so much apathy that you can't even provide the future generations or those suffering right now with any kind of uplifting material, any kind of opposition, any kind of thing where they can turn away? Perhaps they heard something that didn't quite sit right with them in the classroom, or from their parents, or for the 16th time they've heard about lampshades and Anne Frank and some other bullshit that doesn't make sense. Niggers being turned into purses or shoes. It doesn't sound right to them. But because we don't care, when they go to Google search it, or when they go on DuckDuckGo, if they know well enough that Google searches and filters their search results, there's going to be nothing there for them. The internet is being scrubbed by our very eyes. All old things are going away, and we can't even replenish the well with new things. While we have the energy, we have at least the awareness to provide the next generation or those struggling right now. There are people out there who need an alternative, and we need to give it to them. We need to be the ones who take up the torch and go, because if we don't go, no one else will. Maybe we can't be the ones to pick up a bayonet and charge the hill. Maybe we can't be the ones to charge the machine gun nest. Maybe it's past that time. But are we going to sit in the corner and be kicked in the teeth and not even bite the ankle? Is that how weak we are? The little we can do to pick up a microphone and take 15 minutes and speak into it, or to write some kind of analysis, write some kind of contextualizer, We have to do something. Perhaps you forgot the consequences of losing this battle, and you need a reminder. This is not a baseball game where you can come back next week and try again. We have been on the decline in such a slow speed. The frog has been boiling for so long that we forget the end result of losing the game of life is extinction, is death. We lose forever. The Christians out there will give me the right answer and say, we don't lose because we have eternal life in Christ. That's fine for us. How about our children? How about those we leave behind? You're telling me you don't want to give them the easiest time possible? It's hard enough out there with what they're doing to us. There are those that come after us. And even that answer, that we don't have to worry and we don't have to try because we can go to heaven, I don't know about that. It's selfish. There are those who will come after us who will need help. They have enough problems from the world. The least we can do is try to make that fight a little easier. The slow decline of watching our race disappear, the slow decline of being poked and prodded and being cut 1,000 times until we bleed out, you have to understand the end game of this, playing the game of equality, watching our own people dwindle as their people grow stronger, the end result is we lose. Our people lose. We have no more children. This is it. There is no more, I'll see you next week for another inning. We lose. We're gone. To say that we are okay because we get away with going to heaven, it shows a sign of selfishness that you don't give a shit about what your ancestors did before you. And I promise you, there will be something to pay for this. We don't have to be like our parents, the boomers. We don't have to sit at the judgment seat of Christ and hear that we sold our own people down the river, or even worse, we died by way of our apathy. We can do something different. Which is why I started this episode speaking about the welfare office. That was not just a funny and silly joke. And maybe you're listening now because you think I'm about to tell you something funny. I'm not. We have a problem with spiritual welfare and political welfare. We on the right believe that maybe one day the great man will come so we can just sit back and not do anything, because it won't come to us. We won't have to be the ones to actually put in even the most minimal effort now in saying something and speaking in our minds, in writing, and putting things out there for people to listen to or to bring people towards us. There will be no political savior coming from the chariot of Rome to come pull us out and pull us away from the ministry of truth and reestablish some sort of country where we can once again raise our families in a Christian culture. We have to be the ones to make that change. Perhaps it will be in our lifetimes that Christ will come back, that the second coming will be something we will get to see. How ironic would it be that Christ coming down from the heavens looks at us and says, "What did you do to prepare for my coming? What did you do to make it so that my army will be greater to fight the devil? What did you do? Did you sit back and bury your talent and wait for me to come to do the work for you?" Christ will have more good things to say about the effort of our enemies that day and night they tirelessly work to murder babies, to sodomize your children, because in Revelations, as it says, "Because you're neither hot nor cold, I will vomit you out." Even they, as evil as they are, work day and night in evil. They at least are committed. Unlike our apathy, they have hatred for us and hatred for a good way of life. Hate is closer to love than apathy, I can promise you that, and it is not impressive. Our apathy is not impressive. Perhaps it's impressive how little we do in the face of our culture being pulled away from us. That the very life support that we have left, the trimmings of the old world, is being peeled off of the walls of our house, and we just sit there and let it happen. Not so much as even offering protest of words, let alone picking up a hammer and stopping them ourselves. You have to understand how dedicated the enemy is. That red-headed piece of shit, that speaker that Biden uses, Jen Psaki, whatever her name is. She was up there the other day when she was speaking about abortion and the possibility of it going away, which I understand there is no possibility of it going away from the satanic country. She was crying from the passion, her dedication to murdering children and how important it is to her. She was crying. This is our opposition, and we can't even be bothered to speak about it. As our corners are flooded with shills to drown out any 1 or 2 or 5 people left, meaningfully doing something more than just shitposting and posting stupid fucking memes that don't accomplish anything. They are flooding our corners and totally driving us out because we are filled and racked with apathy. And it is sickening.